Hello, and welcome to another Knowify video, how Knowify syncs with QuickBooks. This is a question we get a lot, and so we thought we'd give you a live demonstration about how Knowify and QuickBooks actually sync together. So first of all, we do have a really great bidirectional sync with QuickBooks Online, which is actually going to be the topic of this particular video. So the combination of Knowify and QuickBooks Online gives you very robust business management from Knowify with great project-level job costing and all the other features you need to run a contracting business. And QuickBooks Online obviously will provide all of the accounting and make sure that your books and taxes and everything else that you need done on the accounting side can get done and get done well. In terms of the way our sync works, it's bidirectional on both the clients and vendor side. So any client added to Knowify or any client added to QuickBooks will show up in the other, and the same is true for vendors. We'll actually run through some of the actual syncs and some of the modules. So for example, we will push time cards. So however you keep time in Knowify, whether it's GPS check-in, check-out on the mobile phone, whether it's using the foreman's view to punch in time across a lot of people, we will absolutely push time to QuickBooks Online time cards so you can run payroll, stuff like that, if you do in fact want that feature. You have to do a little bit of work setting it up by linking Knowify users with QuickBooks employees, but it's really very simple and it's a one-time thing. So in this case, all I'm going to do is just run down this time card very quickly. I'm going to punch in 1 hour for Tuesday in that job, 2 hours for Wednesday, 3 hours for Thursday. This is just going to make it very easy for us to spot the push over on the QuickBooks side. And now I'll save and submit this. Now, bear in mind, Knowify has built-in time approval, and we're not actually going to push time to QuickBooks until it's been reviewed and approved. This is a feature that we can disable, but we strongly encourage you to keep it in place because this is obviously a great control for any business to have at the office level, and it will make sure that we don't pollute your QuickBooks with time card data that you don't want there. So in this case, now that I've approved it, this will automatically queue up behind the scenes to be pushed to QuickBooks. In fact, if I were to switch to QuickBooks in probably about 30 seconds, maybe 45 seconds, this would already be there. And we'll actually go check as soon as I'm done with a few more things. So in this case, I'm going to switch to invoices. You can see, first of all, in my Manage Invoices table, all of the invoices I have outstanding, the check marks actually indicate that they've already successfully synchronized with QuickBooks. In this case, I'll go add a new one, add a regular invoice. We'll do it for Lapidus General Contracting. I'll filter it down to just a single job since I have so many open jobs. And in this case, I'll show you because progress billing is an area where people really usually want additional functionality on top of what QuickBooks provides. You'll see that we do great progress billing, but also give you the ability to have all the records on the QuickBooks side where you need them for accounting purposes. So I'm building this invoice in Knowify. I can say these things are taxable, select the tax rate. These are going to be your QuickBooks tax rates or tax codes that we will pull in, and then I will finalize this. So now that this has gone through, you'll see that actually as I change the sort, this is going to show a little syncing circle that's going to show you that this is now being pushed to QuickBooks as we speak. So this is an example of how Knowify is going to give you some information about the status of that sync and let you really keep track of it. So in terms of the way the sync actually works, this is going to be true for both bills and invoices. When you process a bill or you process an invoice in Knowify, it will push to QuickBooks. And then you can record payment in either system and the other will become aware of it. So after the initial push, it becomes a bidirectional sync. And then if I, for example, record payment received in QuickBooks, Knowify will automatically close the receivable on our end. You can see that this is now switched to a check because it is synced. Or if you record that a bill has been paid in Knowify, we will push that information to QuickBooks. It will close out the bill and make the check available for printing. We also sync our catalog with the list of products and services in QuickBooks. That's a very powerful bidirectional sync. That means that we will be able to keep that list of products and services completely up to date with the Knowify catalog and vice versa as you go along and make updates to the price lists and things like that. Add new items that you work with. But let me show you actually a very powerful feature in Knowify, something we call the accountant's view. This is actually a view on all of the things that Knowify is syncing with QuickBooks. So in this particular case, I can show you that we have the time entries that we pushed. It's showing also this invoice that we sent from Knowify to QuickBooks. Now, obviously the transaction log is helpful, but what really matters, I think, in terms of easing the work burden for the accountant is the ability to set defaults. So we have the ability to, by vendor, set expense account defaults and payment account defaults. So for example, here, Staples, if I'm buying something from Staples, it's almost always going to be for my internal office use, and so probably likely to end up in the office expenses. For something like ABC Hardware Store, however, it's more likely to be for the job, so I can set the default expense account to supplies and materials COGS. Now, obviously on the QuickBooks side, this can always be adjusted, but if you do go through the process of setting up these defaults, chances are you're going to be right 95% of the time and really save your accountant a lot of work. And all this without actually requiring any accounting knowledge for the people putting in your POs, processing your invoices, etc. So we sort of separate the accounting and the business side, which is very helpful because we obviously know from experience that most business people, most project managers, etc., are not accountants. But we do enable you to nonetheless connect the two with our various tools for managing the accounting side and the push and pull between Knowify and QuickBooks. Now, obviously in rows like this, Contract Supplies LLC, Smith Hardware, the fact that these are blank means that it's actually going to draw on what the company defaults are. So you can see here that my default accounts payable is accounts payable, or my default expense account is job materials. So any vendor bills processed for Contract Supplies or Smith Hardware, they're going to end up with the line items going to job materials. The same is true on the income side, so I can set default income accounts by customer, so that for all these different customers, I can set what I want the default income account to be, the default tax rate, default payment account, etc. And then also, again, if they're blank, it will know if I will end up using the company defaults. So for each job, you have the ability to set a class. If you use class tags for reporting in QuickBooks, we will pull all the classes. We will let you set them at the job or project level so that you can continue to use those. We do ask for a default service for time entries, a default account for deposits, and then a default account for retainage if you are in fact doing commercial GC work and using our AIA stuff and need to put stuff into a retainage account. We actually have a nice treatment of retainage where we will do some double entry work to increment up the retainage account and increment it back down when ultimately it all clears when 100% of the invoice is billed. In the catalog, which in QuickBooks is the list of products and services, we do allow you to specify default income accounts and default expense accounts for these things so that when you buy them or when you sell them, obviously these things will end up in their default account. So let's switch over to QuickBooks. You'll see that if I go to my employee's weekly timesheet and look at Dan Deroule's, which is the one I entered before, that the 2 hours, the 3 hours, the 4 hours, the 1 hour, these are all now in here into my QuickBooks time card. So we got the push to go through. You can see that it's all consolidated here. If I go back and go into customers and go to Lapidus General Contracting and then look at whatever the most recent invoice number is, this is going to be the one that we put together before, the 100% remove old windows, 50% install new windows. Obviously, here is the accountant. I can always change the account to which these things are allocated. But again, drawing on Knowify defaults, this was set to sales. Our tax rate's pushed with the correct tax and city. So you can see that Knowify is going to automate a lot of the push between Knowify and QuickBooks and really save you a lot of time on the bookkeeping. So thank you very much again for joining us. Hope you enjoyed learning about the Knowify QuickBooks Sync. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to reach out to us, support@knowify.com or 212-233-3230. Thanks very much.